Shalom, all praises to the Most High, all praises to his holy name. Back again by the grace of the Most High. The Most High told us, he said, I place my word above my name, all my name. One thing that people don't seem to understand, we found out that the Europeans are liars. So we do research and study in books to see what's in the books. But the Most High said, I place my word above all my name. So if the Most High is given, see, once again, let me put it this way. I'm not trying to say if you're of the celestial kingdom that I rule over you. Because in the celestial kingdom, we're all equal who are Israelites. Because that's who's in the celestial kingdom. But just because you're a Jacobite by bloodline, and you make the confessions that you cling to evil because they like you, and they appear to show you favor because you are doing their will, that don't make you have dominion over me. We found out those in the celestial kingdom have no one over us except his word. The Most High himself said he's bound by his own word. That's why he said he puts his word over all of his name. He can't change what he says. He's bound by the celestial laws that he created. But he can not honor that if you don't honor your part. If you don't keep his commandments or repent and still trying to keep his commandments and you just say, I'm not going to keep none, then he's not obligated to stand by his covenant with you because you're not in his covenant. And my dominion don't change based on what I read or what I share. I don't fall in and out of dominion. Don't work like that. Dominion is a gift to his elect. We were sent here with dominion. And wicked man does not determine my dominion. The word does. I was sharing with someone who's earlier, because they tend to want to play games with people. And I say, well, don't play with me because I never signed up to play your game and I'm not in your dominion. Therefore, I don't have to play your games. At first, I was going to talk about the Lakers, but I don't want to disrespect the Lakers like that. I'm going to say the Clippers. See, the owner of the Clippers can run their employees up and down the court as much as they want. But I made a reference. I said, they got the right to run you like the Lakers. But I thought about it, I said, but Clippers ain't never won no championship. They ain't never had no dominion. So they'll run you like the Clippers. One problem though. I'm not an employee of the Clippers or the Lakers or no any other corporation. None of them can claim ownership of me. And if they do, that's bad faith actions, and I object to it. Because their own private attorney, their Roman Catholic Pope's private attorney already told you, they already confessed that's bad faith action, that's criminal activity. So every time you try to do it to one of the elect who knows who we are, they're just charged back to you, not us. You don't determine if, but I got to speak for myself. You got to make your own salvation calling assured. That's what the scriptures say. You got to make your own confessions. I'm going to speak about me, and I'm not discrediting you, but you got to speak up for yourself. So I told you I'm an American Israelite. That's who I am. That's what I am. Concerning my status, I'm a king and a priest, according to his word. And I don't need your approval. See, sometimes you got to talk to people like that, because people, if you talk unsure, they'll think they can try you. You can't try me, because I don't care what you say. You can take that respectfully or irrespectfully, however you want to take it. That don't change one fact about who I am. I know who I am. The Most High told me who I am. He created me to be king and priest. So I make those sure confessions. I'm an American Israelite, not created by a corporation. I was watching a program today. You could take information, measure against the word. And he was talking about, and it was saying that these Aboriginal indigenous people from North America are the true Israelites. Well, that's why I was born and raised. North America. I am an Israelite. I'm an American Israelite. I'm not a United States corporation Israelite. I'm an American Israelite. So, just want to let you know that for your FYI. What is mine, I don't have to apologize for it, or I don't have to beg for it. You got to give it to me, because it's mine. What else I want to say? Well, today I'm going to talk about dominion. I've talked about it before. Some of the things I'm going to say, I've said before through scriptures, and maybe I might add some new things through the scriptures that you might not have heard before. I'm also going to talk about some of those things that Roman Catholic Pope's private attorney had to acknowledge through necessity concerning about who I am as an American Israelite. She used terms. I object to a lot of things she says that the Most High doesn't say, but the things she says that validates or collaborates with what the Most High says, I accept concerning me. Terms like black, all those type of terms, Negro, et cetera, that the Most High don't use, I object to it. I never acquiesce. So let's get started. If the little line in my forehead bothers you, man, that's because I'll be wearing this little stocking cap on my hair and stuff. So I got that little line in my forehead. So just try to ignore that. I went to Romans chapter 11, Northern Kingdom version. The header reads, Israel was chosen, foreordained according to the election of grace. But some hardened their hearts against it. The Gentiles are adopted into the house of Israel. That's speaking about the northern kingdom that man was talking about when I was talking about watching the video. They said we are the Israelites from that house. They got adopted back into the tree because we was Hellenized. The gospel goes preferentially to the Gentiles unto the fullness of the Gentiles. Broke it down yesterday when the Messiah said, he let you know, he said, the difference between the Gentiles, he said that the ours of the Gentiles, meaning Japhet's family and the Romans, are going to build Zion for us. Not spiritually, because they're not a spiritual people. They're going to do it manually and through labor and through their wealth. And then he said that the Israelite that they call Gentiles, which was us at one time, we were Gentiles because we didn't know who we were and we acted like them. But now we've repented, we come back to the Father, and now we're carrying the last leg of the relay through the house of Joseph called Ephraim. Verse 1, I say then, has God cast away his people? God forbid. May it not be. That's what God forbid. May it not be. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Acts 22:3. I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia. Yet he was born in Tarsus in the city of Cilicia. He was an Israelite. Yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous towards God as you all are this day. See, the people he was talking to, he was talking to Israelites. Because he said, as you all are this day. Zealous towards God. 2 Corinthians 11:22, and are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. Then you know who Paul was talking about when he said he went to the Gentiles. God has not cast away his people. Blessings of Israel. which he foreknew, foreordination, foreknowledge of God. What you not what the scripture says? No, you not what the scripture says of Elias, Elijah, how he make intercession to God against Israel, saying, Yahawah, they have killed your prophets and digged down your altars. The apostasy of Israel, martyrdom. And I am left alone, and they seek my life. First Kings 19:10-18. And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts. For the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and slain your prophets with the sword. That was the apostasy of Israel. And I, even I only, am left. And they seek my life to take it away. And he said, go forth and stand up on the mount before the law. And behold, the law passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and break in pieces the rocks before the law. But the law was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the law was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the law was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And it was so when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in the mantle and went out and stood in the entering in the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him and said, what doeth you here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars and slain your prophets with the sword. And I, even I only am left. And they seek my life to take it away. And the Lord said unto him, go, return your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when you come, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. And Jehu, the son of Nimshi, shall you anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha, the son of Shaphat, and Abel Mehilah shall you anoint to be prophet of your room, in your room. And it shall come to pass that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay. And him that escapeth the sword of Jehu shall Elijah slay. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel Yet I've left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him. But what says the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Doctrine and Covenants 49:8. Wherefore I will that all men shall repent, for all are under sin except those which I have reserved unto myself, holy men that you know not of. See, I'm not under sin. And there's some of you not under sin. But I can't speak for you. You got to speak for yourself. I don't know who you are. Doctrine and Covenants 49:8. Wherefore I will that all men shall repent, for all are under sin except those which I have reserved unto myself. He said, these holy men he reserved unto himself, that I don't know who they are, you not understand. Holy men that you know not of. But I know by me, I ain't understand them. I just read it to you. Even so, then at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. See, this remnant is not under sin. We're not subject to man. Even so, then at this present time, also there's a remnant according to the election of grace. Therefore, we don't go in and out of grace. We elected of grace before we got here. We don't have to watch, we don't watch videos or get new information that came from man. All of a sudden, now we fell from grace. No, that's you. That's not talking about this election. The election, the elect. Who can lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is he who has called us. So I don't care what kind of performance you do or how you get actors to run up and down the floors, carry dogs, or I don't care what you do, it don't change my status. By the way, give me what's mine by. You have no right to hold it. It's not based on what you think I should be. I don't work for you. Give me mine. What's mine? All right, in good faith. And that means you don't touch it, nor stand in my way. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified. See, all these things are past tense, present, particle. It's already happened, and it is so right now. What should we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? Now, who are you? God is for me, so who are you? He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how should he not with him also freely give us all things? So give me what's mine by right and get out of my way. Freely give it to me. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is God that justified. And you can't pretend to be me because he know who I am. And he know who you are. And he's watching. He say his eyes are in every place observing the good and the evil. You pretend to be me if you want to. And if by grace, then there's no more works. Romans 2:5-10. But after they had hardened this, after the hardness and the impenitent heart treasured up unto yourself wrath against the day of wrath. See, that's you standing in my way. He already told me all things are mine, because all things are his is mine. But if you're trying to stand in my way by the hardness of your heart, but after the hardness and the impotent heart treasured up unto yourself wrath against the day of wrath and revelation of righteousness judgment of God, who will render to every man according to his deeds. He already told you I'm not under sin. To them who by patience continues in well-doing seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. That's the elect. But it's them that are contentious and do not obey the truth. See, the truth is, you know, you got to give me what's mine by right, but in your heart, you're trying to stop it. This is your message. But unto them that are contentious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation, and wrath, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first and also of the Gentile. But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good faith. To the Jew first and also to the Gentile. See, the word is spoken. So get out of my way and do good faith. Because it's mine. Why would you stop me from receiving what's mine? And if by grace, then there's no more works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more of grace. Otherwise, work is of no more work. I ain't got to work for it because it's mine. It's not based on your envy, jealousy, or any such thing. Get out of my way and give me what's mine. That's the word. If not, he say tribulation and anguish is coming up on your soul. And his word don't return void. What then? Israel has not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it. So give me what's mine. And the rest were blinded, became callous. Etymology Online Dictionary, action verb, elect. Early 15th century, to choose for an office, position, or duty. From Latin, electus, past participle of elegere, to pick out, choose. From ex out, cx. Legere, combining form of legere, to choose. To collect, gather. Related, elected, electing. Elect, the adjective, the description of elect. Early 15th century, of action voluntarily of persons taken in preference to others, especially chosen by God for some special purpose. From Latin electus, past particle of egere, to pick out, choose, from ex out. Legere combining from legere to choose. To collect, gather, the noun meaning those chosen by God is from early 15th century. Pre-elect, this is foreordained. Also pre-elect, to choose or elect beforehand. This was done before we got here in the temporal world. The noun form of it is called chosen. Chosen is the term for elect. It's a noun. The elect, the selects, especially those selected by God. Century 1200 from past particle of choose. The verb chosen people are for the Jews is recorded from 1530s. And then the word of the day is dominion. Now, mid-15th century lordship, sovereign, or supreme authority. That's what the Most High has given us. And once I'm going to remind you again of what the Roman Catholic post-private attorney had to say through necessity to say this about us as well, the elect. So we don't have to go around telling you we have the dominion, but we actually have the dominion, whether you like it or not. I was preordained to this calling. You have to claim for yourself if it's you, and you got to prove it. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. She already told you all you got to do is, and the Most High said all you got to do is be called by his name, who's an Israelite, and walk in righteousness. Mid-15th century lordship, sovereign, or supreme authority. Old French dominion, rule, power. And directly from medieval Latin dominium, nominative dominio, corresponding to Latin dominium, property ownership. So what you waiting for? Give me what is mine by right. And he didn't tell me to beg for it. From Dominius, Lord, Master, from Domus, house, household. In law, power of control, right of uncontrolled possession, use and disposal. From 1510s as territory or people subject to a specific government or control. Genesis chapter 1 and 26, speaking about his chosen, his elect. And God said, let us make man in our image. The difference between man and the others called man is in his image, the elect, both in their body and their spirit. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the jurisdiction of the sea, over the fowl of the air, jurisdiction of the air, over the cattle, and over all of the earth, jurisdiction over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth up on the earth. jurisdiction in the air, the land, and the sea. Same thing this Roman Catholic Pope had to say by necessity. That agrees with what God says. The power of Israel. Ephesians 1:21-23. Far above all principality and power and might. Far above. And every name that is named not only in this world, but also in that which is to come. And has put all things under his feet and gave him to be the head over all things to the church, which is his body, the fullness of him that filleth in all in all. Letting the fonts clear up. Northern Kingdom edition, Luke 10:19. Behold, I give unto you power, dominion, power of priesthood, to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. Psalm 91:13. You shall tread upon the lion and the adder, the young lion and the dragon shall you trample underfoot. The Roman Catholic Church. The man who used to be called the Vicar of Christ. The word said he gave me power over it. Psalms 91:13. Over all that beast. Psalm 91:13. You shall tread upon the lion and the adder. The young lion and the dragon shall you trample under feet. Let's look at the terms tread and trample. I'm not speaking by my words. I'm speaking about the Most High's authority. The action verb of tread, the verb. Old English tredian, to tread, step on, trample, traverse, pass over. Class V, strong verb, past tense, tread, past particle, treading. From Proto-Romantic tread, we get to some meanings, but all these other things. Assumed base of roots, meaning to run, walk, step. To tread water in swimming. To move the feet and hands regularly up and down while keeping the body in an erect position in order to keep the head above the water. Tread, the noun. Early 13th century, a step or stepping. Pressure with the foot. from tread in reference to automobiles tires is recorded from 1906. Basically, like I told you, I walk on water. Trample. Let's look at the term trample. You can be offended by it, but I'm giving you the word. No, I don't care about how you feel. And this is not a plaything. Some people say, well, all right, whatever you think. Okay, the Most High say, you got some tribulation coming. Late 14th century, to walk heavily, fricative form from a tramp. Transitive sense, beat down by continually treading on. It's from mid 15th century, related trampling as a noun from century 1600. Catastrophe. Now, reversal of what is expected, especially a fatal turning point in the drama. The winding up of the plot. From Latin catastrophe, from Greek catastrophe, and overturning, a sudden end. To overturn, turn down, trample on. To come to an end. From kata, down, to wind, turn. The extension to sudden disaster is attested from 1748. That's concerning them, though, not me. He already promised that you're going to come to a catastrophe if you keep standing in my way. I'm not asking for nothing that's out of pocket. I'm telling you to give me what is mine by right. He going to make me give you what eventually, in his word, he said, you're going to have to give me what's yours. But you can lessen the catastrophe if you give me what is mine by right now. Because you ain't got no leg to stand on to prevent me. But for one thing for sure, he already promised you that tribulation and catastrophe is coming your way if you stand in my way. Touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy. And nothing shall by any means hurt you, hurt me. Acts 28:5, and he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm. He just told me that I had the power over all the enemy to shake off the beast into the fire. And I ain't gonna feel no harm behind it. Same fire that the beast set for me to put me in the fire. I'm not gonna be hurt, but I'm gonna shake the beast off in that same fire. Behold, I give unto you power to tread. I shall tread upon the lion and the adder. The young lion and the dragon shall I trample under feet. and over all the power of the enemy. And nothing shall by any means hurt me. Acts 28:5, and he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm. So I'm not discrediting you other elect. I'm just speaking for me. And the other ones I know not of, but I know you there. Luke, let the font settle. Luke 11:20. But I, with the finger of God, cast out devils. Exodus 8:19. Then the magicians said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the law had said. John 3:2. The same came to Yahawah by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher from God. For no man can do these miracles that you do except God be with him. Acts 2:22. You men of Israel, hear these words. Yahawah of Nazareth, a man approved of God among you by the miracles and wonders and signs, which God did by him in the midst of you, as you yourselves also know. But if I, with the finger of God, cast out devils, no doubt the kingdom of God is come upon you. And the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Yahawah, even the devils are subject unto us through your name. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing by any means shall hurt you. Verse 18 says. And he said unto them, Behold, I beheld Satan as a lightning fall from heaven. Counsel in heaven, the devil. He had to take the title of Vicar off of his name, of his title. Vicar of Christ off of his title. James 2:19. You believe that there is one God? You do it well. The devils. Northern Kingdom. Knowledge says, devils also believe and tremble, and you have made yourself like unto them, but not being justified. That's you devils who's trying to stand in my way. And believe me, remember what I told you, when I say my way, it's not a selfish mind. It's just that I'm confessing with my mouth. You have to work out your soul salvation with fear and trembling. Northern Kingdoms, James chapter 2, verse 19. And you believe there is one God, you do it well. The devils also believe and tremble. You have made yourself like unto them, not being justified. Acts 16 and 17. The same followed Paul and us and cried, saying, these men are the servants of the Most High God, which show unto us the way of salvation. You believe that there is one God? You do it well. The devils also believe and tremble. Luke 8, 27 to 28. And when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man which had devils long time, and wear no clothes, neither abode in any house, but in the tombs. When he saw Yahawah, he cried out and fell down before him with a loud voice, said, what have I to do with you, Yahawah, you Son of God, Most High? I beseech ye, torment me not. See, these scriptures are going to mean something different to you now if you hear these today. Shaking off serpents and beasts. Gotta shake it off. Really in a shame, because gotta have faith to shake it off. Gotta shake it off. Acts 28 and 3, when Paul had gathered a bundle of the two sticks, the Bible and the sealed portion. And when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks, the Bible and the Book of Mormon contained in the sealed portion. And when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, the altar, and laid them on the fire, there came a viper out of the heat. Mark 16:18. They shall take up serpents. If they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. Doctrine and Covenants 24:13. Require not miracles except I shall command you. Except casting out devils, healing the sick, and against poisonous serpents, and against deadly poisons. Doctrine and Covenants 84:71-72. And if any man shall administer poison unto them, it shall not hurt them. And the poison of a serpent shall not have power to harm them. Doctrine and Covenants 124:98-100. And these signs shall follow him. He shall heal the sick. He shall cast out devils, and he shall be delivered from those who would administer to him deadly poison. And he shall be led in paths where the poisonous serpents cannot lay hold on him upon his heel. And he shall mount up in the imaginations, and he shall mount up in the imagination of his thoughts as an eagle upon an eagle's wing. And what if I will that he should raise the dead? Let him not withhold his voice. So that spirit come over you and you say, get up. Move by the faith that is risen up in your imagination as an eagle's wing, believing you can do it, and say, rise, you dead, and live. And when Paul had gathered the bundle of sticks, he laid them on the fire, and there came a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said among themselves, no doubt this man is a murderer, whom though he has escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffered not to live. Let's say he escaped the sea, but they still was doubting who he was. Most High say, pray you worthy to escape the sea. Howbeit they looked when he should have swollen or fallen down dead suddenly, but after they had looked a great while and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and they said that he was a god. Acts 14:8-11. And there sat a certain man at Lystra, impotent in his feet, being a cripple from his mother's womb, who had never walked. The same heard Paul speak, who steadfastly beholding him and perceiving that he had faith to be healed, said with a loud voice, stand upright on your feet. And he leaped and walked. And when the people saw what Paul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in speech of Lycaonia, the gods are come down to us in the likeness of men. Philippians 2 in chapter 9, wherefore God has highly exalted him. Exaltation. And given him a name which is above every name. Malachi 1:11, for from the rising of the sun even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. And in every place incense shall be offered unto my name. And a pure offering for my name shall be great among the heathen, says the Lord of hosts. Hebrew 1:4, being made so much better than the angels, as he has by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they. That at the name of Yahawah every knee shall bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth. The same jurisdiction that the Father promised me in the beginning. Mosiah 27:31. Yet every knee shall bow, and every tongue confess before him, even at the last day, when all men shall stand to be judged of him. Then shall they confess that he is God. Then shall they confess who live without God in the world that the judgment of an everlasting punishment is just upon them, and they shall quake and tremble and shrink beneath the glance of his all-searching eye. Obadiah 1:21, and saviors shall come up on Mount Zion, as the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahawah's. Doctrine and Covenants 76:106-111. These are they who are cast down to hell and suffer the wrath of the Almighty God, until the fullness of times when Messiah shall have subdued all enemies under his feet, and shall have perfected his work. He said, we are his work. For this is his work. When he shall deliver up the kingdom and the present and present it unto the Father spotless, saying, I have overcome and I have trodden the winepress alone, even the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty God. Then shall he be crowned with the crown of his glory, to sit on the throne of his power, to reign forever and ever. But behold, and lo, we saw the glory and inhabitants of the celestial world, that they were innumerable as the stars in the firmament of heaven, or as the sand upon the seashore. That's the number without number, spoken of in Revelation chapter 7. The elect was in chapter 7, verse 1-8. 12,000 chosen from each tribe except Dan. Verse 9 on down to about 17. That's this number without number called the terrestrial glory. Celestial glory. Talaki, that's the terrestrial. The celestial glory beneath that. These are the wicked. And beneath that is the world that don't have a kingdom. That's the very wicked. But behold, and lo, we saw the glory and inhabitants of the celestial world, that they were innumerable as the stars in the firmament of heaven, or as the sands upon the seashore. And they heard the voice of Yahawah saying, these all shall bow the knee, and every tongue shall confess to him who sits upon the throne forever and ever. For they shall be judged according to their works, and every man shall receive according to his own works, his own dominion, and the mansions which are prepared. Doctrine and Covenants 88, 103 and 104. And another trump shall sound, which is the fifth trump, which is the fifth angel who committed the everlasting gospel, flying through the midst of heaven unto all the nations, kindreds, and tongues and people. And this shall be the sound of his trump, saying to all the people both in heaven and in the earth that are under the earth, for every ear shall hear it, and every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall confess while they hear the sound of the trump, saying, fear God and give glory to him who sitteth upon the throne forever and ever, for the hour of his judgment is come. And that every tongue should confess that Yahawah the Messiah is the Savior, to the glory of God the Father. Yahawah the Messiah. Wherefore, my beloved, that you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work good works. And now, my beloved brethren, I desire that you should remember these things, that you should work out your salvation with fear before God, good faith works, good works. And that you should no more deny the coming of Messiah. Mormon 9:27. And then despise not and wonder not, but hearken unto the words of Yahawah, and ask the Father in the name of Yahawah for what things soever you shall stand in need. Doubt not, but be believing. And begin as in times of old, and come unto Yahawah with all your heart, and work out your own salvation with good work, good faith works, with fear and trembling before him. Sealed portion, chapter 90, verse 50. Therefore, my brethren and sisters, call upon the rich and the governments that have power over you, and demand of them in righteousness that they provide for you the necessities that you require to sustain your lives. Mormon 9:27. And then despise not and wonder not, but hearken unto the words of Yahawah. I just read them to you. And ask the Father in my name, in the name of Yahawah, for what things soever you shall stand in need. Doubt not, but believing, be believing, and begin as in the times of old, and come unto Yahawah with all your heart, and work out your own salvation. We just found out that's good faith works, with fear and trembling before him. Good works. shall portion 90 and 41. And all food and raiments and houses shall become free to all who believe. It don't say that, but he just said if you believe with your heart. And I'm breaking it down according to the King's language of the world. Not the word of Israel, but Idunia. So according to chapter 90, verse 50. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, call upon the rich and the governments, the corporations that have power over you, and demand of them in righteousness. You got to be righteous, though. They watching to see if you're righteous. That they provide for you the necessities. That's why they have to tell you what is yours by necessity. Most High says, for the elect, all things are yours, are mine. That they provide for you the necessities that you require to sustain your lives. All I'm trying to do is, I can do what I want to do with my money, but like I said, the only thing I'm trying to do anyway is probably give me I'm not looking for no unless he give me a mansion, but I ain't looking for one right now. I just want something that any man of Israel could afford. I'm not trying to live above nobody. I need that. I like riding my bike, but I need a truck or something like it. That's something I need. He even said I can have a few things I want, but I'm not even talking about nothing I want right now. I'm talking about stuff I need. Let's see where we're heading to. Let's go to Seth chapter 5. This is the book of Remembrance of Enoch. Just leaving foundation. So people say, well, that's not canonized. Most High didn't tell us we was limited to canonized books. Malachi 3:16. Then they that feared the law spake often one to another, and Yahawah hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the law and that thought upon his name. I mean, righteous is not according to what man determines because you're not righteous. And he already told you, don't judge me. Yet I judge you because I'm spiritual. I study to show myself approved. Do you? According to how he say study. Do you? If you don't do those things, he said you can't judge me anyway, but if you don't do those things, how can you judge me? You can't. Seth 5:23. On down. And the righteous can thus be godly and be like me in all three of my names. Inasmuch they can feel and act together in perfect harmony to bring knowledge and well-being with the Holy Spirit, Kahi. That's what I'm doing right now, bringing knowledge and well-being with his spirit. And they can be filled with loving kindness. And they can follow my example and thus be like Enoch said, the Father. So that loving kindness overflows out of them to feel every vision of holiness. And they can follow my example and freely forgive their fellow and lead virtuous lives in all of their yearnings and become like Matzah, the lamb. And thus you see, my son, that the two decrees of creation are for the purpose of assuring that the power of godliness shall always dwell with all of the righteous. But the wicked or the ungodly cannot be like me. Cannot be like me. Or the God they know. Whatever imagination of any kind of God in your head, you can't be like that either. If you're wicked. For they cannot achieve being almighty or all powerful or supreme ruling sovereign dominion. That's why that Roman Catholic Pope had to take the title of sovereign off of his title. And he had to let everybody in his jurisdiction who works for him, who are wicked, say, stand down and touch not Yahawah's anointed, nor do his prophets no harm. Or else you're going to end up in Geronimo Bay or worse. And they are called the ungodly because they cannot be like any God. And there will be those among the wicked who claim to know me, who don't read no Bible or nothing like that, though. They only listen to mama and them nigga down the street and them and them false prophets in them. Who have a form of godliness but deny the power which comes from being like me in the fullness of righteousness and the power of godliness. So be comforted, my son, and see to it that all of the righteous walk in all of their ways in the power of godliness. These are the sovereigns, the elect. And look to see carefully, you don't say that, but all the information I provided, I can say that. Because that's what it's saying. I'm just making it more plain and clear. In Israel. So be comforted, my son, and see to it that all the righteous in Israel, that all of the righteous walk in all their ways in the power of godliness, and look to see carefully that the example I have set for the righteous and all three of my names is taught and become known to them, so that the power of godliness is thus set in order of it. We're going to stay in chapter 5. We're going to go to verse 77 through 85. And your charity shall be a force exceedingly hard to push away. For all who may rebel against the definition and meaning of life that they have been given, and in this way your spirit shall bless the earth wherever you go. Note at the bottom in first Aki, Tipar is said to have done this also. And it came to pass that as Enoch looked upon this wondrous scene, he began to look intensely to see, for he knew he was beholding the conditions that it could give rise to beginnings of evils in their inception. And he beheld that the power of the charity of Kava went forth to encompass the width and breadth of Eden. And it was strong, and any among creation who would wish to rebel against it could not penetrate it, and were ineffective to do so. And because she is the object of creation, how she felt in her view and attitude towards the meaning of life was such that any contrary attitude or view must give way to that which sprang forth from the charity that issued from the purity of her heart. And it was in this way for any force in creation which felt contrary or rebellious, and they could not overcome the strength of her charity, to rebel against the desires of Yahawah in the nature of their being. Now we're going to go to some of, he said, every tongue shall confess. Every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall confess for those in the celestial kingdom. So we're going to go here. He said, the place that has no kingdom created for it, but this man apparently made some confessions because he feared and trembled and hoped that he can probably at least make the celestial kingdom. But the Most High said, the lake of fire, which is in the place that has no place created for the devil and his angels other than outer darkness, a place that has no kingdom except outer darkness of gashing and gnashing of teeth. This is where this man was destined to go based on his bad faith works. By necessity, he told his Roman Catholic Pope, gave his attorney what to tell the elect by necessity to come in compliance with his decree for our reign. And I don't have to apologize, nor do I have to ask for permission to say this. This is the Most High's decree that they have to tell us by necessity. And it don't matter what a European thinks or says. Once again, I object to everything she says that's not in agreement with the Most High's word. But everything she does say that's in compliance with the word is a testimony against the wicked. Just bear with me till I pull them up. A document she had called "The War is Over." The War is Over by Anna von Ritz, the Roman Catholic Pope's private attorney. While both sides of the Pope's organizations here on our shores are lax in publishing the news, the Civil War is over. It has only taken 160 years, but the legitimate and actual government of this country has proclaimed, deemed, and decreed that our employees are not allowed to rampage around on our shores conducting any kind of war declared mercenary, product, or otherwise. It's over. Anyone who doesn't know that it's over needs to be fully informed. Ever wondered why the military is supposed to be subservient to the civilian authority? Ever noticed the difference between the word civilian and civil? The reason that both military and the civil service are placed under the direction and dominion of the civilian population is that both are services, and they serve as subcontractors acting under the delegated authority. That's why the Most High said, demand them in righteousness to give everything you need for free. Because everything is already paid for. He paid the price. That's their purpose of being here in the first place. Not to charge you, but to serve you. The reason that both the military and the civil service are placed under direction and dominion of the civilian population is that both are services and they serve as subcontractors acting under delegated authority. Why would subcontractors be allowed to dictate the policies, laws, and practices of this country? Simple answer: nobody in their right mind would conceive a situation like this. Even though this is how we have been living for 160 years, letting our employees run the roost, tell us what to do, and racketeer to their heart's delight against us. Lacking a civilian authority, the military turned to the civil government for direction. And the civil government represented the municipal government of their own district government, was all too glad to agree. Both sets of our federal employees conspired against their employers and set out to evade their obligations under their respective constitutions. The Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the United States. If you are a typical American, it's new to you that there are two constitutions. Actually, there are three. But one has been in abeyance pending reconstruction for a century and a half. See, the Most High's government is taking over all government. And it ain't got nothing to do with the European. That's why he set his people back in authority. The elect, his government. The Israelites, the true Americans. In addition to the three actual constitutions, there is a fourth document that is calls itself the Article of Incorporation of a Foreign Commercial Enterprise. Let me start over again. There is a fourth document that calls itself the Constitution of the United States of America. Incorporated, that is, which functions as the Article of Incorporation of a Foreign Commercial Enterprise, first published in 1868. She said, but I disagree. Let this suggest that things are a good deal more complex and in a way more dire than most people imagine. This entire portion of the continent has been misadministered under color of law and conditions of fraud for over a century and a half. She says, our federal employees and the other principals who received our delegated powers are responsible for this. And that's just the way it is. We have to pull ourselves out of our zombie-like trance and deal with it. So remember, civil is not civilian. Our military owes no allegiance to the municipal civil government, but instead both owes us good faith service. We have the right and the responsibility to direct both. All right, let's see where we're heading now. Once again, I already told you, I object to anything she says that does not agree with the Most High, because the Most High's government is taking over. The Europeans' opinions don't matter one bit. I object to everything she says that does not agree with the Most High's word. Because even they have a Bible in their quasi courts. She have another notation or acknowledgement that says, we are not at war, they are. See, there's a lot of misinformation circulating now, especially in the patriot community. That's the European community. Once again, I object to anything she says concerning them. I'm only interested in the things she says concerning the Most High's word concerning us, the American Israelites. There's a lot of misinformation circulating now, especially in the patriot community. It is of great importance to everyone that this gets set straight. We are not at war. Our feckless, erstwhile commercial corporation subcontractors may be at war of some kind or by some definition. But in order for Americans to be at war, they would have to be a formal declaration of war coming from our own legitimate Congress, not a Congress of British, territorial, or municipal United States citizens. That's including her. Because she's speaking for the Roman Catholic Pope over their jurisdiction. I'm speaking for the Most High's jurisdiction. And everything that she says that agrees that we are in domain, according to the Most High's truth. All Americans are owed the law of peace, not the law of war. Let's go to another European and see what an American is. American, 1828 Webster Dictionary. American, pertaining to America. America, now a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here in America. Let's look at another term. She said Aboriginal is the original Americans. Look at the term Aboriginal. I'm only using knowledge based on what is the truth, not according to opinions. Aboriginal, first, original, primitive Aboriginal people who are the first inhabitants of a country. Revealing America's Dark-Skinned Past, Volume 2, The Columbia Area, Red Silver Fox, Thunderbird. One of the most prevalent fallacies in North America history, when I was talking about earlier, when the man was talking about, he said the North American Indians that they claim was Indians or Negroes are actually really the children of Israel. One of the most prevalent fallacies in North American history is the story surrounding Christopher Columbus and the people he encountered. It's interesting to note that earlier 20th century histories were stating that Christopher Columbus was trying to prove that the world was round. However, late 19th century historical writings on Columbus, not school textbooks, make no mention of this revelation. They do, however, tell in great detail of the carnage that took place on the islands during Columbus' reign. They also describe in detail of the hospitableness of the indigenous people, the general nature of the indigenous people until they had to defend themselves, and that the indigenous people were considered Negroes. Aboriginal. First, original, primitive Aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country. Aboriginal tribes of America. First, saying that the quote-unquote Negroes was the first one here. That's verifiable. Aboriginal, adjective, and original or primitive inhabitant, the first settlers in a country are called Aboriginals, as Celts in Europe and Indians in America. So he's saying the Aboriginals. Let's go back to the definition now. American. Now, a native of America. Originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper color races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So if the quote-unquote pale-faced people are not truly Europeans, where do they come from? They were in Europe now, but he said first Europe had some Aboriginals there at first. Perhaps it's because they're from Mount Seir. Read Ezekiel 35 and Obadiah. Go back to what she stated. We are not war, our feckless erstwhile commercial cooperation. I'm only reading information now. And I'm comparing it against the word of God, who he says his word is above his own name. So that means her word is way below that. So when we use her word, doing the confessions and notations of the criminal activity that her people has done against ours, that's in agreement with his word. That's above all word. We are not at war. Our feckless, erstwhile commercial corporation subcontractors may be at war of some kind by some definition, but in order for Americans to be at war, there would have to be a formal declaration of war coming from our own legitimate Congress. That's what the Most High said, that the Americans, the quote on his people, the Israelites, we ain't gonna never go to war on the offensive. We only go to war on the defensive when he tells us to go and he gonna fight for it. But she already acknowledged this is not our war, that's theirs. And they still got to give up what is ours by right, and they still got to do their duty. Because they're at war with one another. If we claim to be who we are and come back to the Most High's name, then that takes us out of danger, out of their war. Against each other. But in order for Americans, I just told you what a true American is, to be at war, there would have to be a formal declaration of war coming from our own legitimate Congress, not a Congress of British, territorial, or municipal United States citizens, by our own acknowledgement. All Americans are owed the law of peace, not the law of war. And no American can be presumed to be allied with either territorial or municipal citizenry. So they try to throw that in there when our ancestors, because they didn't know what to do, they had to side with either the British or the French. They wouldn't have to side with neither one of them when they came on the land. They got through in their war. But she just said, acknowledging that all Americans are owed the law of peace, not the law of war. And no American can be presumed to be allied with either territorial or municipal citizen. We have issued our International Declaration of Peace and our peace treaty among the states of the Union. Any federal subcontractor, dependent, official, or employee caught violating the peace will be recognized as criminals engaged in illegal commercial conflict and also acting in the breach of trust. end of 400 years of European meddling and predation in America. Just reading the excerpt from it. The Constitution was saved and a new foundation begun. The Native Americans are now free to come home to the land that they were removed from, no longer POWs. They've regained their sovereignty as free, sovereign, and independent people living on the land. The United States of America and the free, sovereign, and independent people living on the land of the organic states have regained their sovereignty in the international jurisdiction of the sea. For the first time since 1789, Americans are in full control of both their natural land and sea jurisdictions. We are finally whole. See somewhere. Objection to Evil by Anna Von Ritz, Roman Catholic post-prophet attorney. Evil only survives on our own failure to object to it. It only strives when we ignore it and acquiesce to its existence. And then it comes out to play and it gets worse and worse and worse. So I already told you I object to all bad faith actions, and I'm not playing. I don't have to play. Seal portion 27 and 96. And now, verily I say unto you, if that enemy shall escape my vengeance, that he be not brought into judgment before me in the flesh, then you shall see to it that you warn him in my name, that he come no more upon you, neither upon your families or your nation unto the third and fourth generation. And then if he shall come upon you, I have delivered your enemy into your hands, and you can do unto them that which you desire to protect yourselves from him or destroy him before you. But if you shall spare him, you shall be rewarded for your righteousness. Nevertheless, your enemy is in your hands, and if you reward him according to his works, his bad faith works, then you are justified before me. And if he has sought your lives and your freedom are endangered by him, then he is in your hands and you are justified. Behold, this is the law that I have caused to be given to all my prophets. And I have commanded them to teach these things unto the children of men in all of the nations of the earth. Objection to Evil by Anna von Ritz. Evil only survives in our own failure to object to it. It only thrives when we ignore it and acquiesce to its existence. And then it comes out to play and it gets worse and worse and worse until people wake up and take action against it. So far, we have discovered that a lot of what we have been told about history is wrong. That our government has been usurped upon in gross breach of trust by our supposed allies, and that a group of madmen enlisted want to kill off the vast majority of mankind, enslave the rest, and rule forever as kings over the rest of us. As if that wasn't bad enough, we find the same sources corrupted religion too. It misrepresented and tweaked the narrative of Christianity to Baal worship instead. The word apocalypse basically means revealing. When a bright light is shown in the dark corners and curtains used to hide these things are thrown back. Having been one of those who has done the job of digging up the past and smelling out the bones, I have to say even I am aghast. Faced with the sheer mass of such manifest and abundant evil let loose to rampage over all the world, the indoctrination into evil of our young people by fraternities and other secret societies and cults, the impulse is to shake one's head and think, how can we ever let it come to this? But we've let it come to this and worse before. This is a cyclic phenomenon. Can we learn from our mistakes? The core value, the only imperative, is that we must learn to recognize evil for what it is, and we must object to it with all of our might and determination. We pause a moment to take in the world that our negligence has created. Take a deep breath and say, I am responsible. She's talking to you. Because you're responsible. It all comes down to me. Say it and mean it and carry through. If you don't object, you are an accomplice to it. Let's see what I'm looking for. All right, this is where we're headed right now. She has something called the claims on abatement for private autos misidentified as motor vehicles by Anna Von Ritz, Roman Catholic post-private attorney. What you're owed is called a claim on abatement. Basically, they have been coercing you to register your private property, car, truck, trailer, etc., which grants them an unearned ownership interest in your property, and which also in this case requires you to mischaracterize your private conveyance as a motor vehicle in the process. Misidentifying your car or truck as a motor vehicle, subject to the motor vehicle code, and admits on the public record that you are using your private car to engage in commerce. Commerce is business between two or more incorporated businesses. Are you an incorporated business? Are you using your car to conduct business for a corporation? Probably not. So far as you know, but unknown to you, they are also conferred a federal municipal citizenship on you, and use that as an excuse to bring you under their coercive control as a person presumed to be using a motor vehicle in interstate commerce. All these rigged presumptions are determined to you, detrimental to you and your property interests, and forcing you to register your car with them and give them a free ownership interest in it, and forcing you to misidentify your car as a motor vehicle, which means it's involved in commerce, and giving them coercive power to regulate your every move, is in fact illegal and unlawful. So what did they do? They provided a remedy to legalize their unlawful and illegal demands. Who is making this demand? The Federal Reserve Board of Governors. So who owes you remedy? The Federal Reserve Board of Governors. And unsurprisingly, that's who used the remedy, not the state legislature, not the county, not even the federal government. That's why, generally speaking, none of those responsible for administering the state statutes know anything about any of this. The remedy, which is called Regulation Z, is provided by the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, nowadays known as J.P. Morgan Bank. As far as our research shows, Regulation Z first appeared in the Federal Highway Safety Act of 1956. And the revenue raised by illegally conscripting your cars and trucks was used to build the interstate highway system. But because nobody told you anything of this, and nobody provided you with any instructions or go-to information about this remedy, you were unaware of it and could not access it to make a claim of abatement. That is, abatement on the crime against you. Remedy avoided, palmed off, obstructed, and misadministered to the benefit of the offending parties is a remedy not provided, which leaves these criminals unabated. All those parties responsible for the continued misadministration and obfuscation of the remedy remain criminally liable. They remain criminally liable. That includes those engaged in the coercion to register our cars and trucks as vehicles, those engaged in forcing driver licenses upon us. Driver implies commercial activity. And those engaged in enforcing these laws, they have to provide your exemption and relief, or they are crooks, subject to arrest themselves. Now, the state operators and county of sheriffs may be disappointed by the sudden disappearance of so many revenue opportunities, but they should be taking this up with J.P. Morgan Bank, not you. And they, as the inline service providers, should be made aware of the fact that their bosses owe this remedy to you. This circumstance reflects part of an overcharging pattern of concealment of remedy and avoidance of providing remedy that has been pervasive for over 100 years. The compartmentalization that keeps one part of the government, the inline service providers such as the highway patrolsmen and the state and county of courts, ignorant of what the higher ups are doing and what the higher ups owe as a remedy to you. They're not ignorant now because they're listening. Therefore, make mine exempt on the record. Has been used to effectively deny you the remedy you are owed. Although it's your license, but if the one I'm gonna use, make it exempt. I never created a license. By necessity, make it exempt. And that don't bring me back into your jurisdiction here. I'm just saying what she said. Especially once I get my truck and a car or whatever I'm gonna drive. So I won't have to be harassed by you. As long as the enforcers are kept ignorant of the actual law and contracts that apply, they're not ignorant, they listening. the higher ups can use them to unknowingly commit crimes against you. Now they know exactly what they're doing because they listening. I object to even having to use one until the transition is complete. Make the ones I'm gonna use that's using my name on it exempt. Including the license plates, everything exempt. And that is what the higher ups have done. They have put layers of franchises and subcontractors of subcontractors between themselves and the public, and kept those franchises and subcontractors ignorant of the remedies owed to the people of this country, the Americans, the people. To all those who have been suborned, and by the way, I don't need no license to try to get me linked up with one world government. I don't need none of that. I already got a license on the record. This changes to the status of exempt. Now I use that. It expires in 2025. Not for hire. It's already under the name of Anthony Madrus Pooler, Sr. Just make it exempt, not for hire. I'm going to use it for traveling purposes, not working purposes, not driving purposes. And if you bother me from this point because I already let it be known because you're listening, you in violation. Once I start traveling again in my private car or truck. Even my scooter that I got outside right now, if I decide to fix that and start traveling on that, it covers that too. So I don't need your license. I don't need nothing on it. I just travel on it like it is. It bothers me, man. In a sense, it don't like ruin my day or nothing like that. But these devils, man. Most already told you that my status don't change from day to day or hour to hour. My status was already determined before I got here. You need to worry about yourself. For after all, you the United States citizen. You're not the American. You don't belong here. You here based on a corporation's approval. We're gonna be here regardless whether the corporation here or not. But why it's here, we're gonna hold to everything that they have to do concerning us as far as serving us. I'm gonna say serving me until everybody else decide that they want to be an American as far as Israel. That really are Americans, but they want to be African Americans, Negroes, or colored, then I can't help you. See your portion in chapter 27, verse 102 to about 104. And if that people do not accept the offering of peace, she has already told you that the only thing they can do towards us in good faith is peace. Are they in violation from their own government? Who told them to leave us alone. We're not in the war. They are. And if the people do not accept the offering of peace, neither the second nor the third time, then shall the testimonies of which I have spoken be brought before me. Then I, Yahawah, will give unto them a commandment and justify them in going out to battle against that nation, tongue, people, in defense of their freedom. And only in the defense of their freedom shall they fight. That's why I'm fighting right now, with the truth. He said, my truth shall be my shield and buckler. But he actually talking about literally, if somebody literally threatening your lives, he's talking about that too. For if there is a people or a nation or a tongue that does not desire the freedom or the laws or the constitutions of freedom, that's what we're talking about right now. If you think I'm just telling you gibberish and you don't want to listen to it, well, I can't force it on you. Carry on in your ways that's going to get you killed. Only in defense of their freedom shall they fight. For if there's a people or a nation or a tongue that does not desire the freedoms or the laws or the constitution of freedom, then they shall not be forced to accept these freedoms or these laws or this constitution. And there should never be a war of offense given by my command. And if you've abided by my commandments concerning these things, see, I'm not worrying about her commandments. I'm worried about his commandments. And if what she says agrees with his commandments, I'm with it. And if you have abided by my commandments concerning these things, then I, Yahawah, shall fight your battles. And the battle of your children and the battle of the children of your children, until they have avenged themselves on all their enemies to the third and fourth generation. Behold, this is an example unto all people, says Yahawah, your God, for justification before me, for I shall never command you contrary to the law of the gospel that I have given unto you. Seal portion 27-91. And again I say unto you, if you observe to do whatsoever I command you, I, Yahawah, shall turn away all the wrath and indignation from you, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against you. That's why I walk around with my head up, speaking whatever I want to speak boldly in righteousness. She continues, she says, as long as the enforcers are kept ignorant of the actual law and contracts that apply, they're not ignorant now because they're listening. And they've been told already. They're not ignorant. The higher ups can use them to unknowingly commit crimes against you. And that is what the higher ups have done. They'll put layers of franchises and subcontractors of contractors between themselves and the public, and keep those franchises and subcontractors ignorant of the remedies owed to the people of this country. Well, you know now. To all those who have been suborned in this gift collateral scheme, I suggest that you make a formal claim of abatement to the State Secretary of State. I already done those things. In some states, the lieutenant governor. I did all these things in 2017, and I've continually done it via the internet through public acknowledgments and announcements in writs. Improving upon them as I gain more and more knowledge. You may also present it to any prosecutor, defense attorney, court clerk, or judge involved in any action against your interests. Share this information widely. That's what I've been doing. Make enough people aware of what has gone on here so that they no longer have the option of portraying you as some kind of nutcase while enforcing crimes against you. That's why I demanded them in righteousness to return everything 4 times what you've taken from me alone. Not including what you owe us as a people. But I am including that. Remember, they, in this case, the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, have to provide the remedy for all this. Or they are the criminals, not you. So I'm trying to tell them they can run in here with their gang stalking schemes, pretending like they can put me back into some kind of non-status. My status don't change. Told you I'm an American Israelite. From the house of Joseph, from the tribe of Ephraim. And I demand you in righteousness to return everything you've taken from me. 4 times what you've taken. But I want mine brand new though. No telling what you've done with the old stuff. In the meantime, just give me back what you owe me. That's my inheritance from my uncle. And I'll go and buy my own personal stuff. And then you just go ahead and give back 4 times once you start building that land and all those things. Remember, they, in this case, the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, have to provide the remedy for all this. Or they are the criminals, not you. Feel free to provide this information to all and any members of the state or county of courts and legislatures and administrations. She said, thank you for doing your public duty. See what we're heading to now. Here's another one. It says about firearms by Anna Von Retz, Roman Catholic Post-Private Attorney. Everyone, please pay attention so that I don't have to go over all this again and again and again. Here's the facts, folks. Firearms are never described in the actual law pertaining to Americans, as opposed to the municipal code, which some people are mistaking for public law, which does not describe firearms. And the territorial federal code, which is also describes firearm, is in a slightly different context. What Americans have is the right to keep and bear arms. Our law doesn't say anything about firearms at all. Like the time when they came and took mine, I told them, I said, am I under arrest? They said no. I said, well, then let me go. They said no. I asked them, I said, would you let somebody take your firearms? They said no. At that time, I felt threatened, so I started just trying to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Because I said, if these people know all this and they still trying to hold me captive and take my firearms, I'll just go ahead through coercion. I'll just go ahead and play it cool. They should have never took my firearms. Never should have took me to jail. Never should have charged me with anything. That's why I object to it and give me back everything you've taken. 4 times what you take. And I'm going to probably go buy me some more. At least 2. In good faith, though. What Americans have is the right to keep and bear arms. Our law doesn't say anything about firearms at all. On our turf, we have the unabridged right to keep, bear, and use any kind of arraignment at all. Rifles, howitzers, slingshot, slots, tanks, airplanes, rockets, knives, nail guns, self-propelled grenades, bombs, Molotov cocktails, drones, BB guns, machine guns, throwing axes, whatever, period. Americans, though, that's so you know who the real Americans are. The municipal code, which is foreign law with respect to Americans, defines firearms. The territorial federal code, which is foreign law with respect to Americans, also defines firearms. This is yet another Semitic deceit and red herring that has its roots in post-Civil War era when the capital city was afraid that U.S. Army units would use artillery and small firearms to stage a takeover. This was later amended in 1933, after the glory days of Al Capone, to firearms in the vein of rifles and Tommy guns and sawed-off shotguns used by gangsters, and none of it pertains to us at all. You see the wrongdoing they did to me, man? And continue. That's why the Most High said, vengeance is his, he will repay me. He gonna make them do it. And he gonna repay them, but not how they want to be repaid. Municipal code is a separate body of purely federal law that pertains solely to the administration of the municipality of Washington, D.C. Last time I looked, it is about 2,800 pages long, including definitions and amendments. and costs about $1,800 per copy. With the result, most Americans have never even seen a copy of the municipal code. My point is that municipal code was originally intended to prevent artillery and cannons from being brought into Washington, D.C., and didn't impact our right to keep and bear arms outside the city limits. See, Washington, D.C. is only about 100 and, let's see. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 68.3 square miles. And they try to use the rest of the country and place it under that through color of law. The real America. They try to put the real America under the color of law of the Washington, D.C. through color of law. Called the United States. She says, my point is that the municipal code was originally intended to prevent artillery and cannons from being brought into Washington, D.C. and didn't impact our right to keep and bear arms outside the city limits. A separate topic at all. That's why the municipal code was allowed to stand, and the reason it still stands. They get the right to dictate to their own citizenry and to control their own premises, but they can in no way pass legislation affecting our rights on our turf. We're the Americans. Rod Class made the mistake, and I told him it was a mistake. I don't know who that is. To try to go into their set-apart little enclave and claim his guarantees as an American. Doing that makes as much sense as going to Ireland, violating Irish law, then claiming it doesn't apply to you because you are an American. If you are an American in America, your law applies. If you are an American in Ireland, their law applies. I don't know who Rod Class is, but if he's not an Israelite, he's not an American, according to definition. But anyhow, she says Rod Class was an American in the municipality of Washington, D.C., which is an independent, internationally city-state. That's the same great city that in Revelation was talking about, 18. That's already fallen. Their law applied and their law defines firearms. This is all part of the patriots being confused about the nature of their federal subcontractors, also being confused about where and when their constitutional guarantees apply. If you go into a U.S. Air Force base anywhere on Earth, I trust that you know that you can't swagger in with a weapon. And if you do, you may be mistaken for an enemy combatant. That's an example of territorial codes applying within the perimeters of arsenals as it is a foreign law. Simply the better known foreign law generally called the federal code. The territorial federal code has grown to more than 50 separate sections called, but anyway, I don't look at this. Let me look at you now. I was never obligated to stand by that false arrest, confiscation of my private property, etc., etc. But even if I was, that was 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Now it's 23. That's 6 years. Over 6 years. Going on 7. And their false claim says that that I couldn't have a firearm for over until about 5 years. That's passed. So even if that was true, and I was never convicted of anything, they still couldn't stand in my way from going and getting me some firearms right now. And if they do, they lying and they violating my rights. I'm just putting it on the record. Further violating my right because they wiped my ass with their right. They wiped their ass with my rights the first time. With my rights. With all the wickedness they did and continue to do. The Territorial Federal Code has grown to more than 50 separate sections called titles, covering different topics. And it does discuss firearms, particularly in the Title 27, which covers the BATF, and the nuts and bolts administration of the regulatory power that the federal subcontractors were guaranteed or granted by the Constitution of the United States of America to regulate the interstate sale, transport, and manufacture of tobacco, alcohol, and firearms as a source of revenue to support the federal government. It was an early sin tax, SINTAX. Firearms in the 1780s meant guns with firing pans. What we would call black powder guns. The federal government was supposed to eke its earning out of the whatever it could raise as revenue for the interstate manufacture, sale, or transport across state lines. Of such firearms, they are more or less sensibly extrapolated that right to regulate firearms to include modern small arms and profit themselves from licensing them, not their owners. But once again, firearms is a topic that never finds reference to Americans standing on their own turf. The definition of firearms only appears is either municipal or territorial terms, and foreign law in respect to foreign jurisdictions. The municipality of Washington, D.C. is a foreign, independent, international city-state operating in the global jurisdiction of the air. The territorial government is a separate foreign British Commonwealth entity operating in the international jurisdiction of the sea. Both are foreign. Both operate under foreign law. She just told us that now that the American Israelites, we got jurisdiction over all of them. That's why that Roman Catholic Pope who owned all of that took the title of Vicar of Christ off his title. In 2000, at the fullness of the Gospels, they say came in 2019. He took the titles off in 2020 because it was the end of the reign of the Gentiles. Both are foreign, both operate under foreign law, and neither can dictate Jack Diddley squat to an American standing on the land and soil of his own state of the Union or exercising any reserve right. Not explicitly addressed by their prospective constitutions, so long as he is standing in his own right and operating on his own turf. She just said all jurisdictions have been given back to the American Israelite. They're the ones that got to get registered and all that stuff. They're the ones that applies to, not us. We at home. She said we right to come back to our own land. We're no longer prisoners of war. The municipality of Washington, D.C., as I have pointed out with monotonous regularity, is a separate international city-state. Now you're starting to see what he means, what Revelation was telling you, don't you? The book of Revelation, that great city. Completely independent of the rest of this country. Ruled over by the members of the United States Municipal Congress, acting as a plenary oligarchy. And it is set apart and allowed to function in this manner by Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. The capital city does not belong to us Americans, and it never has. It was set up this way on purpose, both to invite foreign investment, to bear the cost of building it, and to provide a meeting place where members of all 50 states could gather on neutral ground. The municipal code of Washington, D.C. applies to all the corporations formed in Washington, D.C., which is the only reason that this topic bears much discussion at all with respect to firearms or anything else. All the people that she's naming, I don't know nothing about them. But if they're not American Israelites, I object to any claim they talking about they're Americans, because I just read to you what American is. She said, Rod Class made the mistake of bringing firearms according to their municipal code definition into their foreign exclave and thinking that their law didn't apply to their turf. He apparently thought that this constitutional guarantees were owed to him everywhere on the earth. But that's Ron Class, because he's not an American Israelite. She just said American Israelites have jurisdiction everywhere, just like the Most High said. Air, land, and sea. Do you have any sacred right to keep and bear arm on the islands of Bali? Don't you grant that the Balinese would have something to say about that? Well, you just said a mouthful. Don't you think the true Americans should have something to say about who's over here? And we do. The Most High made it claim. And you acknowledge it. By necessity, speaking for that Roman Catholic Pope who owned all those corporations. And if they didn't want you to have a 357 tucked under your arm during your vacation stay, for fear you might use it against their people, wouldn't they, as a foreign government, have the right to impound your weapon? See what she just acknowledged? If you snuck your weapon past their border guards and custom agents, in spite of their efforts to clearly post and give notice to their restrictions, wouldn't they have a right to charge you with such crimes as willful criminal mischief? Even if you left your gun locked in a case the whole time? Of course they would. It is the same with Washington, D.C. The municipal officials threw the book at Rod Class, and they have every right to. But Ron Class sounds like a European. Like I told you, she just acknowledged that we, the American Israelites, have a right to be wherever we are because it's all our land. And I warned him before he did it and told him why, but he was bonehead. And he went sashaying into Washington, D.C. with a couple deer rifles. And God knows what's in his truck. He's lucky he got out alive. And though I love him dearly, he still is a bonehead and hasn't learned any of the lesson I've tried to teach him, complete with evidentiary proof. How hard is it, after all, to read Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, when someone points it out to you, and take in the meaning of plenary anarchy, until people stop screwing around and learn to drive on their own side of the road? A lot of good men are going to be needlessly hurt, and a great deal of brain power and effort is going to be wasted. Every American needs to learn and needs to know for certain that the federal government is being run by a foreign subcontractor. And when I say foreign, I mean foreign in the same sense that Spain is foreign to Denmark. They operate under the foreign laws called codes and statutes and regulations. And they operate in foreign, international, and global jurisdictions that most Americans have no reason to visit, except perhaps as tourists. The territorials was granted a right to regulate and profit from the interstate manufacture, sale, or transport of firearms. The territorials were granted a right to regulate and profit from interstate manufacture, sale, and transport of firearms, and so they will, within reason, update the meaning of firearms into the modern world, and they will regulate away with gusto every time there is manufacture, sale, or transport of small arms across state borders. They can also license federally regulated goods, and they can also license their own citizenry with or without that specific regulatory authority. But it's severely doubtful that their regulatory authority extends to licensing Americans when those Americans are standing on their own soil. So you can't stand in my way to go get my firearms. Matter of fact, I don't even have to even wait on them. You probably try to make me do it, but you're still in violation. When I go in to get them, I'm gonna say, "Hey, I'm American, right? I'm gonna let you know about it." So far as I know, the question of federal regulatory authority to license Americans to do anything at all, and I do mean anything on their turf, has never been breached in the Supreme Court of the United States. But it certainly should be, because the federals of both stripes have been trespassing against us, usurping against our people by registering and licensing activities of common right without authority to do so. That is a topic worth of fighting over. That's why I object to it, and it's over right now by the authority vested in me. I just read it to you because she already admitted to it, and because I'm a true American under the government of the Most High, is over. The Most High say eventually He's gonna get rid of all firearms anyway, but as long as you got them, we gonna have them. The right of the municipality of Washington, D.C. to ban firearms within their own city boundaries is not a worthy topic to even debate. The right of the territorial governments to regulate interstate manufacture, sale, and transport of alcohol, tobacco, and firearm is another don't bother me with its topic. Read your constitutions and you can see for yourselves exactly what they're allowed and not allowed. She even made another. She said basically the constitutions are basically contracts that they're subject to, not us. And when I mean us, Americans. Constitution tell them what they can and cannot do, not what we can and cannot do. We free. This is our land. And what they must do for us. Stand aside and let them, and I just read you the Constitution from the Most High. He said He paid the price for us, so everything should be free. Matter of fact, when we go in and put a signature or autograph on a document, it's already paid for anyway. After that, it becomes fraud because then they try to make you pay payments. Matter of fact, she already talking about they had cards or something already set aside that unlimited amount of credit on it, so you can just use it to go that they supposed to give us. That you can just go and purchase or get anything you want, unlimited. I read that before. I'm only speaking about the American Israelites. I don't know no Knox. Why you saying that in front of my apartment? Get the Knox, knock your ass out of here. Matter of fact, let me I'll try to find that once I get. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm just trying to remember what she said. I'll let you know in a moment. The municipal denizens were gifted with a plenary anarchy of our eastern seaboard until we get angry enough with their shenanigans to boot them into the sea and reclaim the ground under the city, which still belongs to Maryland and Virginia, by the way. That's their turf. That's her speaking. No, this is our turf. Most High just told us, and she already acknowledged everything has been given back to us. So I told you her law what she say don't supersede what the Most High say. That was back in the old times. Most High, what does Isaiah say? See, these Europeans are something else, man. They think that they can run something. Your time is up. Isaiah 9:6-7. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. Not some European with some little badass kid walking across in front of my dwelling, letting it be known that they're there. I don't give a damn where you at. I'm reading you the law. And this law ain't gonna never return void. Isaiah 9:6-7. You should be listening to what I'm doing anyway. You violating my rights. And you proving that you know what I'm doing because every time I get on the video, make a video, you walk across, make noises, letting yourself be known that you listening. That's bad faith. I don't give a damn what you're doing in your apartment. That's why I don't speak on what you're doing there because I don't know what you're doing there because I ain't worried about it. But I know you worried about what I'm doing in mine. That's why I'm talking to you like that, dirty bastard. Isaiah 9:6-7. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of Yahawah of hosts will perform this. See, the Most High is doing this. Your reign is over, Esau. Obadiah 1:21, and Savior shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau. That's why I'm talking to him like this. Stay out of my business. And the kingdom shall be Yahawah's. She goes on to say, the territorial federales can regulate and profit from the interstate sale, manufacture, or transport of exactly 3 commodities. If they try to extend their pause to include other commodities or include activities taking place in non-interstate environments, like your backyard, tell them where to get off and do it in no uncertain terms. That's why I told these motherfuckers to get off. Out of my business. Most of all, make it crystal clear that you are an American and not any species of a municipal or territorial person at all. And record your political status as an American who is owed every jot of the Constitution. And then learn when and where the constitutional guarantees apply so that you don't wind up in jail or worse. The Most High just told us. He said he don't never send us out to war on the offensive. But if these people continue to disrespect us and violate us, we have every right by his blessing to defend ourselves. And if they get too out of hand, he said, then I'll give you the blessing to do what you got to do according to their violation status. And I'll fight for you. He's ready to you. That's our Constitution. He said, for the government shall be up on his shoulders. And the increase of his government shall increase forever and ever. Amen. Now, you know that's a violation of my rights when you walking across my in front of my dwelling knowing what I'm talking about. How you know that? You ain't here with me. Let you know you listening to what I'm saying. That's a violation of my constitutional right as an American, because I'm not a corporate entity. Hope you got offended too, because I'm not violating yours at all. I'm not violating your rights at all. I'm not worried about what you're doing in your drug. I don't worry about what you do nowhere. I don't think about you like that. As long as it don't affect me and mine and my nation. Even it came back to once all this stuff was over, he said, well, we was just testing you, man. We were just playing. Well, you know, no hard feelings, but still fuck you, nigga. Wick, because you shouldn't have been playing with me like that. Another statement she made. The two different populations. Folks, there are and have always been two different populations here in America. Actual current federal employees. Retirees don't count as active federal employees. And federal dependents, political asylum seekers, etc., who receive actual paychecks or earn benefits from federal corporations or owe discharge of all franchise debts via bankruptcy. The rest of us are owed discharge of the same franchise debt via probate action. That's where they have my uncle's retirement in probate action. And I'm calling to see when they're gonna release it. To me. And as my agent in good faith, I have my son to represent me. Emmanuel, then I'll give him instructions on what to do with it once they release it. I already told him what I'm gonna do regarding him, my son Anthony Jr., Anthony Pooler Jr., and my daughter, Shaquama Pooler. The difference is that the probate action not only discharged debts accrued by secondary beneficiaries of our estates, the franchises operated in our names, it returns our land and our other property back to us unharmed and fully restored. If you really are a federal employee or an unearned dependent, for example, someone receiving SSI who never paid into invested into Social Security, by all means, take the bankruptcy protection and run. But if you are not a federal employee or unearned dependent, claim your estate back. The debts will all go away just the same, but you will also receive back the land and homes and businesses and other things that are rightfully yours. It's that simple. So they have no reason to stand in my way. The Most High told you to get out of my way, and now she's telling you to get out of my way. And authority of that Roman Catholic Pope who runs all you guys. The United States is not America. By Anna Von Ritz. The United States is not America. Let me repeat and repeat and repeat. The United States is not America. It isn't now, and it never has been. The United States is a separate and foreign political jurisdiction. It is as different from an American state as Spain is different from Sweden. Our government works from the bottom up. Theirs work from the top down. She said, we operate under American common law. They operate under administrative law for handling their international affairs and under international law of the sea, both maritime and admiralty. Our organic states, the ones with soil and trees and rocks, are named like Kentucky, Utah, and Nevada, etc. But she already just told you that the Americans have been given back jurisdiction over all these things. So we ain't got to play the mail game and all that stuff. All I got to do is mail it, and you send it back. I dwell at somewhere, and that's your address. You use that to make sure you know where to send it to. That's not giving you jurisdiction over me. 627, retired means retired. Retired means retired by Anna von Ritz, Roman Catholic Post Private Attorney. Once you are retired, and that is that. You're owed your pension and health insurance from the government and corporation in the same way that you would be owed your pension and health insurance from IBM or Walmart or REI. You do not have any further obligation to the corporation. You can live wherever in whatever jurisdiction you wish. You simply have to make a choice: freedom or continued slavery. Having made that choice, you inform the State Secretary of State that you are retiring from any presumption of United States citizenship or enfranchisement or returning to your natural birthright status. You don't lose anything. You simply change your political status. You surrender the municipal person created by the birth certificate back to the Secretary of Treasury. You rescind your voter's registration, and you record the simple improved act of exportation that also covers your domicile and your allegiance to the land jurisdiction state. You inform your bank that your account is a private account, and all funds transferred and deposited must be denominated as lawful money. You put a label "retired, not for hire" on the back of the driver's license. You buy forever tags for your license plates and unregister your car. But she already just told you, based on all jurisdictions getting back to you, even if they registered, they still can't take it from you, because that's fraud. Because they should have never done it in the first place. As a former federal civil service employee, you would have to continue to pay federal income taxes on that portion of your pension that actually comes from federal employment. If you worked for the federal government your whole life, you will have to pay income taxes on the whole amount. If you are in private employment for 30 years and the bulk of your pension is based on that, you only pay federal taxes on the portion derived from later federal employment. For most people whose only federal employment may have been a 2-year stint as a young man in the military, the amount of your pension derived from such slight attachment to the federal corporation is negligible, and they don't have to pay federal income taxes at all and are naturally exempt. You have not been taught any of this because it was to the advantage of these foreign corporations that you never learned it and never exercise your exemptions and be free. It is to their advantage if they can take and take and take and never have to pay back anything. As a citizen, you are at their mercy and have to accept whatever they give you, just as any slave must. I'm going to change that from state national to American. As an American, you are guaranteed their service and protection and are owed all the guarantees of the original Constitution. If you were born in this country, it's your choice. Well, so she said she already acknowledged that the Native Americans have been given back jurisdiction over all air, land, and sea. That's what the Most High said, and weird they called the quote unquote Negroes. If you are an American, Your choice how you want to live and what kind of status you wish to adopt. If you're an American, it's your choice how you want to live and what kind of status you wish to adopt. It is not their choice, and once you exercise your exemption, they have no right to say one word about it. Like I said, I'm going to look up that other thing about the card situation. But I read that before she said that. But if I find it, I'll just put it in the comment section. It says dominion of man comes from righteousness. Same thing the Most High been saying. So how can the wicked be talking about they got dominion? That's why they don't. Melchizedek 2:31 on down. So I stop. And Yahawah said to me, the earth has 4 winds, but man has been given the 4 directions of Anoki said, to follow them around as they do him. And they are in the exact manner as Anoki said. And the 4 directions of man are meant to complement and sustain the 4 winds of the earth. Note at the bottom, these are the voices coming from the 4 directions that Enoch established during the divisions of the earth. And the earth views man to be in the image of God because of this. And no matter whatever man or Anoki said, or if they are facing east, the south is always on their right hand. But south to the earth never changes. And it is truly a gift from Anoki said that even in the temporal world, mankind finds the direction following them around. In the likeness of their kind father, Anoki said, and this sets man apart in creation as the rightful heirs of holy dominion. Thus their feeling, those 4 specific identifiable feelings, is the force that gives us our holy dominion in all its forms. And the righteous utilization of these 4 feelings by man creates, in the eyes of the Ekadasha, the view and realization that we are created in the image of God. And they all know that they are to respond to the request of those in the image of God, according to the decrees of creation. And it came to pass that Ebedel spoke to Anoki said, saying, Father, ask us again your question. And it was the first time he had been called father. And it was the first time they knew he could have a question. And it was astonished. And I was astonished that there could be a first time that Anoki said would be called father, because he is the one who does not change. And I listened for all I was worth. And as carefully as I could, let's go somewhere else. Adam and Eve looked just like Messiah. Says 5 and 50. And Yahshua looked at the hands of Yahawah, and then he looked at his own hands, and he felt them with his fingers. And Kava looked at his face, and she touched her cheek beside her nose, and he looked at him and upon each other. And they both began to know they looked like Enoch said, and they were created in his image. And the light of his presence shone upon them, and in their hearts they together were drawn the more to cling to him, and his presence and the feeling of kinship with him, and with each other, and began to be magnified in their hearts. And the eternal newness of a day of Gamal came into the hearts of all three of them. Seth 5 and 32. And the vision of it penetrated him to the center, and the sight of her dark hair and brown skin and white clothing against the gray rocks behind will never leave his memory. And nothing more wonderful could come before the eyes of any man, and he was struck with wonder. Authority defined. Badel, chapter 11, verse 5. And it came to pass, as I viewed these things, I marveled that Enoch could accomplish so great things. And I thought, how Yahawah can he do these things, seeing he is but a speck in the midst of creation? And Yahawah said, he has authority. And I said, Yahawah, what is authority? And the words of my Redeemer was very clear to me. He said, authority is when a person knows the desires of Enoch said. And they are willing to act in the midst of creation to bring the fulfillment of those desires, both in the lives of men and in the midst of creation. So that's why he gave me authority. This is his will to bring forth his kingdom. The difference between man and the other being is in the image of God. Now, when living souls are spoken of, and it is referring to all living souls, including all the Ekadasha and mankind and the Dekadacha, the difference between man and the others being man is in the image of God. And his agency is not affixed, but continues on each moment of his life. See, the wicked, their agency is affixed to be wicked, which is mean they're going to be destroyed. But the agency of the one in his image can go forth and create in the expanses of existence and righteousness. Seth 5:71. And know, my children, that as you are called to dress and keep eating, it may not always be that the order of life that is here will remain the same. For all living souls can choose for themselves which way they will go. And all creation is made of my love for you and none else. For you alone are created in my image, in both your body and your spirit. Therefore, it is the duty of all the souls in creation to diligently follow after the definition of every form they have taken because of you. New form of dominion. It is the duty of them all to walk in the harmony of oneness before you and their creator. And all creation has a new task this day. And their task from this, the day of your espousal, is to worship together with the two of you and disobey the desires of your heart. And they are to share with you all the joys of your happiness. And they are to speak and sing of their joys in you before all their fellows. That's the word. All praises to the Most High. All praises to his holy name.